That doesn't get old, right? Hearing you be announced as a Pro Football Hall of Famer, correct, Amundo?
Never. It's nice and fresh and new for me. So we'll see how long this lasts, but I haven't stopped smiling yet.
How's the golf game been? You and the great Michael Jordan play any golf recently?
You know what? We hadn't played. The weather has been so spotty over here, but I can't complain to anybody. I mean, I'm in Florida, right? We get 300 days of sunshine. So, this last few weeks took it off.
Now, you used to play in Indianapolis. I know you guys played in the Dome. You played your college football at Syracuse, so you know about the cold weather. You're not one of these guys, though, now when it gets to like 55, 60 degrees in Florida, you're walking around with a North Face on, right?
You know what? That happens pretty quickly. Once you stay in Florida for more than maybe a year, all of a sudden it becomes like 55 degrees. You're over here in an Eskimo looking thing. You're like freezing. You're like, for me, I like the cold weather, to be quite honest with you, and I can't even consider that cold. But when you're used to 90 degrees every single day or 85 every single day, and when you get that 55-degree weather, you're going to feel it just a little bit. Now, it's not like Indianapolis or New York or Connecticut, but it's something.
Now, all I'm going to say is I haven't even asked you a question yet about the Colts. My biggest takeaway from this conversation, Dwight Freeney, we all know he was a tough guy. We all know he's a great edge rusher in the NFL. I think you're getting soft with old age now if you're putting on North Face in 55 degrees.
Super, super soft. I got two girls now. They soften me right up. So you know what? The thing is, if we're talking about golf, I'm spoiled. Yeah. I am absolutely spoiled to death. I want to play golf at 75, 80 degrees. I do not want it 55. I am terrible at just playing golf when it's under 60. So, yeah.
The Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dwight Freeney, here with us. Anthony Richardson gave us a little taste last year of what he could be, and then unfortunately was out for the season. When you look at him individually, forget the team standard, just him individually, what do you think the Colts have at quarterback?
Well, I think they have tremendous upside in a game that is evolving and changing into more of what he is. All right. He's a guy who can run. He can throw the ball a mile. All right. Those are things that, it's hard. You can't teach those things, how strong your arm is and how fast you are. That is God-given abilities. And that's what they have. All right. So that means he's a huge X factor. All right. You can prepare on paper exactly how to stop this guy, but somehow he gets out of the pocket or somehow he makes that impossible throw. So I think what they have is something that most teams would love, is somebody who can change the game on just one play. Now, that being said, the quarterback position is a disciplined position, and that needs to exercise a lot of discipline and control, and throw the ball when you need to throw the ball, run the ball when you need to run the ball. When that check down is open, throw the check down. You don't need to go for the home run. Kind of how Tom did it, how Peyton did it. They'll take their chances when they need to, but they have to be, really smart in the pocket and know when to take those chances. And I think that's what he's going to have to learn.
The Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dwight Freeney, here with us. You look at Anthony Richardson, and you also check that backfield with Jonathan Taylor. That could be a great 1-2 punch. Like you look in Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. In Baltimore, now you got Lamar Jackson and also Derrick Henry. Man, that's like a nightmare for defensive coordinators if you roll into the red zone and you get there and you don't know who's getting the ball and who's going to be getting that ball in the end zone between Richardson and Taylor. That's a heck of a problem.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think teams probably what they're going to be doing is loading up the box, 8 in the box all day, maybe some 9 in a box. Don't be surprised if you see just everybody just kind of crouching the line of scrimmage, which opens up the passing game, which opens up the receivers and for slants and different routes and fades and et cetera. So I think, if they do what they need to do on paper, it seems like an impossible mission for a defense to figure out how to stop the RPO game based on that talent that they have back there. But it just depends. It just depends on, can they be effective when they load the box up? Can they be effective of throwing the ball?
Yeah, what did Shane Steichen show you last year? Because I know he was good in Philadelphia, right? He has a reputation in this league, but I was unknown what he was going to be as a head coach. And losing your quarterback early on, getting the level at a Gardner Minshew that he did, I was impressed with Steichen last year.
No, absolutely. I don't think anybody would have thought losing Anthony when they lost Anthony, all the injuries that they had, Fred Taylor being hurt majority of the year, they would have never thought that the Colts would have had a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it literally came down to the last game of the year. That tells you what type of coach that he is. And he has a great scheme. And usually what happens is in year two, there's a more familiarity there, right? He understands the players and the personnel a little bit better. The players and the personnel understand him and the scheme a little bit better. So things supposed to be trending up here for him. But you saw what he did last year. He did a great job, and the guys stepped up, and he knew what to do with the guys that he had.
The Pro Football Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney here with us for a few more minutes previewing the Indianapolis Colts. So we talked about Steichen, Richardson, and Taylor. How about the other guys on this team? Michael Pittman Jr., who is a really good wide receiver. You got Mitchell, the rookie. Josh Downs, I know he's a little bit banged up right now. You talk about maybe going into that passing game and loading up the box. How about the wide receivers on this roster and how you evaluate them?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You don't need a super dominant receiver. You would love it, have that, number one, no matter what team he goes to type of guy. But I think they have a collective great group. I think Pittman does all the intangibles, all the run blocks, all the dirty work for him. Downs is a shifty type of guy. So, you have this young group. You have a veteran in Pittman that can to kind of lead these guys and show them the right way and how to go out there and perform. You got Reggie Wayne, who hopefully soon will be a Hall of Famer, coaching those guys up. I think that, they have a really great group. It just depends on that running game. And I'm going to keep saying that. If they can get teams to commit 8 people into the box, that is going to open things up for their passing game. And those guys will be able to do some damage. But if they're not able to run the ball effectively, and then you have guys dropping back 7, it's going to be a lot tougher for them to do the things that they want. And I just based because they don't have a guy, I don't think that no matter what team he goes to, he's that number one receiver dominator that where, Justin Jefferson type of guy where, it doesn't matter. They don't have that guy, but they have really good players. So we'll see what happens.
Let me get to the defensive side of the ball with the 15th overall pick. They got Laitu Latu. That being your forte, right? Get into the quarterback. Yeah. What are your expectations for this young man?
Well, what really impressed me and that I saw, and I didn't see a whole bunch, but I got a chance to see a little bit, was that he was using moves. Now, that might sound silly to some of the people who are listening here and watching, but a lot of guys, they don't work the pass rush moves consistently. Okay, so there's different moves and club rips and club swims and arm overs and all types of spin moves and all that stuff. Usually that stuff develops a little bit later in your pro career for some guys. And in college, some guys just use athleticism to make all the plays. Okay, I saw him doing those things in the college game, working moves. You saw a lot of that from the Bosa guys. Maybe that came from his pops, but that's what I see in him. And the more that you use moves, the better that you're going to be. And I think how they're going to utilize him is pretty smart. You're not going to throw him out into the fire, let him get his feet underneath him, get better, learn the ways of how you're supposed to play this game. And I think he has, the ability to be a really good player.
Let me get your thoughts on some of the other teams in the division while I have you here. Houston last year, right? It's crazy. You got a coach, you got a stud defensive player and a quarterback, and you go from the outhouse to the penthouse. But now people look at them and they go, are they ready to take that next step, or do they maybe fall back a little bit after getting a little taste of success? Your read on the Houston Texans from afar.
Well, I think they're a very good team. On paper, they look great. What they did last year, I think they snuck up on a lot of people. I think a lot of people didn't realize how good they were. Now it's going to be a lot harder this year because now they're going to be ready for him. And they're going to understand, hey, this team is a real good team. It happened a lot when we were at the Colts back in the day where, you're getting every team's A-plus game because everyone wanted to beat the Colts because they know how good the Colts were. So you really revved up and got ready for those games. But some games you struggle going against another opponent that you think you should win. One of those sleeper games, they call it, where you're like, okay, this is a stat game. And there's a lot of players that fall into that trap. Well, playing Houston this year, teams are going to man, this is a playoff team. And they have a lot of talent, and we have to come with our A game. Now, that doesn't mean that Houston is going to have a bad year because of that. It's just that they're going to have to be more consistent in how they play more often. And, on paper, they look great. They don't have a piece that's really missing as I can see right now. So for them, I guess sky's the limit. Now, will they be in the upper echelon of what happens? Well, you never know. Every year, you have surprises, and teams that are supposed to be good are bad, and teams that are bad are good. So we'll see.
You get to the Jaguars. They were supposed to be that team that was ready to take the next step last year. They didn't do that, just missing out in the playoffs. There's a larger conversation. I think they bounced back this year, but people are wondering how to evaluate Trevor Lawrence. Like, when you look at him so far, with the hype do you feel like he's an overrated quarterback?
No, I don't think he's overrated at all. And it just depends on what you're looking for. And everybody wants to put the crown on a guy and say he has to be, the same as he was in college and winning championships and all that. Listen, there's only one team that wins a championship every year. All right. You have 31 people who are pissed off and upset, and this quarterback sucks because he didn't win the big one, and this defensive lineman sucks because it happens every single year. All right. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good talent. All right. I think he's trending in the right direction. He's not going backwards. For a stretch there, they were in first place in their division. Yes, they didn't follow through. Then injury happened. He got hurt. There's a couple other guys that got hurt. It's part of the game. But the truth is, he's going like this. Now, will it stay this way? Will it plateau? We'll see in what happens. But I think a lot of teams would love to have a quarterback like him.
It's a great answer. Before we let you run Pro Football Hall of Famer Dwight Freeney, now we'll put you on the spot. I know that you love the Indianapolis Colts, but when you look inside this division, how do you think this division's going to play on out this year? Who's your pick to win the division?
Man, it's going to be a black and blue division. If I had to say something right now, based on paper, and I'm going to say paper, I'm taking my emotions and feelings out of it. All right, I'm not going to say Indianapolis Colts because on paper it looks like Houston. So I'm going to say Houston based on what it looks like paper, but you never know. All right, I never know, and I think the Colts are a sneaky, scary team, and you'll see, hopefully in week 4 or 5 or 6 who they're going to develop into being. And hopefully they're in the conversation of winning that division.
One more for you. I know Fran Brown very well because I'm a Temple Owl, and he was at Temple for a while. You have any connection with the new Syracuse coach? You talked to him at all? Because I feel like you guys would really mesh well. His energy is just through the roof.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's a tri-state guy. All right. I had a conversation with him on the phone. He's exactly how you described. He's high energy. He's what Syracuse needed. Now, I don't know from a scheme standpoint what they're going to be doing. We'll see here soon. But I know from a relatability with the players that are there, recruiting, he is A+. He is A+, and that is definitely what Syracuse needed. I'll be going up there on, the September 7th, the Georgia Tech game. And I'll be, talking to him and talking to some of the players. So I'm excited to see what they got.
Yeah, no, that staff, Elijah Robinson, also A+ as well. Going to be fun to see what they could do this upcoming season. Anyway, Dwight Freeney, once again, congratulations on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We always appreciate when you chop it up with us for a few minutes.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. You take care.